know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
Yes, people. We're back in the building. We are back in the building, guys. Please make sure, as you guys can see, scroll across the bottom. We are on the road to 300 subscribers. So please make sure, if you haven't already, please make sure, first and foremost, you smash that like button if you are watching this back. And make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already. Now, obviously, this one's a bit of a chilled one. So as you guys can tell, I'm relaxed. I'm good. Do you know what I mean? We're not solely talking about Liverpool and results and, you know, all these kind of like various different things that would get most Liverpool fans a bit pissed off, especially with recent results and, you know, things that have been going on and stuff like that. So, you know, today I wanted to take just a little quick look at a player. Now, this player here, been making a little name for himself. I can't lie. He's been making a little name, you know, for himself. Obviously, more so since the World. Well, I say more so, but since the World Cup, a lot more people have obviously been talking about him. He's a player that's on quite a few teams' radar, and he's definitely a player who, you know, when you look at the stats, if you look back through his time playing in other leagues, yeah, this is a player that's starting to, I don't want to say come up trumps, because, you know, he's 23 years of age, you know, he's an international as well, recently played in the World Cup final. So, you know, he's got a good enough pedigree, to be honest with you. You know, he's got a good enough pedigree for him to be making his own waves. And obviously that is Randal Muani. Randal Kolo Muani. Obviously, let me not forget his middle name. But obviously, Muani currently plying his trade in the German league for Frankfurt. He's been on fire, man. He's actually been on fire, you know, this season. You know, got himself quite a fair few amount of goals, quite a fair few amount of assists. As I said, French international. Played in the World Cup final. He was the one, you know, who unfortunately got that. I don't want to say miss, because that's maybe a bit too disingenuous, but he was the one who fired at Martinez when he could have actually probably won the World Cup, you know, for France, but ultimately couldn't do that. But since he's come back, you know, from the World Cup, he's just been, you know, on fire this season. He has been totally on fire. Used to play for FC Nantes in the French division. Again, made his debut over there. As I said, French international. Is a player who, this one's a tricky one. And hence the reason why I wanted to do a little video, like a little summary on him, because, you know, looking through the stats and stuff like that, you know, as a player, you know, he can mainly obviously a centre forward, but can play on the left, can play on the right, you know, and one of the reasons why I wanted to look at him is because, especially these days with, you know, a lot of these players and stuff like that, you know, there's a lot of players nowadays who, you know, I was recently just speaking with someone on Twitter about this, you know, nowadays you don't have time. There's no time really to sit there and watch a player for 3 years, you know, that's too unrealistic. It ain't gonna happen. You know, you can't watch players for 3 years, pray they are still good after 2 to 3 seasons, and then you could just snap them up. We saw what happened with Darwin Nunez. One good season for Benfica, all of a sudden, you know, he's worth quite a lot of money to Benfica, and obviously for Liverpool, who would then obviously shell out that big amount of cash. You look at Cody Gakpo as well for Liverpool. You know, someone who had a good season, I would say, good start to this season as well. Obviously in the World Cup. So what's that? A year and a half, 18 months, shall we call it? Had a good 18 months, and, you know, he gets his move. You know, it's a big move anyway for him in terms of the level up that he's going through. Anthony, another one. Anthony been around for maybe a bit longer than like a Gakpo in terms of around Europe, if you're just talking name wise. But again, had a good season last season. This season, you know, Ajax decide, yeah, maybe it is time to sell. Obviously, they sell at quite a high price, so of course it's going to happen. I think that was a lot of money, obviously, for someone like Anthony, someone like Darwin Nunez. There's other players around the world. We take a look at some of the players. Enzo Fernandez, what's that? A good half of the season. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to be disingenuous with someone like Enzo. I'm not trying to say he wasn't good before, because he clearly was. But again, sample size isn't huge with these kind of players. And look what they're worth today. Caicedo, all of a sudden, 20, under 30 Premier League games, I believe, for Brighton. And all of a sudden, this guy's worth almost up to £90 million. The sample size isn't going to be big for some of these players, because a lot of clubs, especially the top clubs, they don't want to miss out on none of these guys. They don't want to be in a position whereby, they're going to miss out on the next such and such, or the next this guy, the next that guy. So I think now we're reaching a stage where nobody wants to miss out, but then also clubs, the selling clubs, are not stupid. They also realize, okay, that's cool. Because most of these selling clubs are smaller clubs, and they're selling them to all the bigger clubs. They're also looking at it thinking, our scouting network is on point regardless, so we'll find another whoever. For example, you look at someone like a Jovic, who used to play for Frankfurt, then moved on to Real Madrid. God knows what I don't even know what he's doing at this current moment in time. Hasn't really worked out, didn't really pan out for him, but he was the next one up. Guess what? They ended up getting Muani anyway, and now they've got another striker who's in there doing the business for them. So, and that's just one example. Brighton are another great example. Benfica, probably the best example of being a club who are able to let go of star players, João Felix. They've obviously recently let go of Enzo Fernandez. There's been other players that they've let go over the last 10 years or so, and they've been able to just constantly replace, whether that be just through their youth academy, which is probably one of the best out there, and just through scouting as well. So I think these days now we are getting to that point where a player can have, and players probably know this as well. Players are not silly, and agents are even wiser than the players themselves. They know, okay, cool. Listen, we have a good solid 18 months, and I do mean a solid 18 months at certain clubs. We can get that big move now. We can get that big move, and clubs are starting to see that. And again, that's why they're placing these high values. Now, someone like a Muani, who, again, like I said, he's still quite young in his kind of development and stuff like that. He's been reportedly, obviously, being looked at by Liverpool and Manchester United. Now, both teams, I would say Manchester United more so need a striker. If I'm looking at the two teams, if I had to, if everyone was fit on both sides, then you'll probably say Man United need a striker more. So they're probably the one who are going to be pressing for that type of signing. Whether it be him, I don't really know. Don't really know if that's a guaranteed thing. They might be looking at someone like an Osimhen, who I think is a fantastic striker. I would love to see him, rock up at Liverpool as well. But someone like a Muani, he's an interesting one. Like, in terms of his ability and the things that he can do. Now, obviously, I've taken a look at his statistics from this season and tried to compare good and bad. Tried to compare the good and bad between him, Mo Salah, and Darwin Nunez. Obviously, I said those are probably the two other strikers that I would realistically say, only because Roberto Firmino hasn't really played that much. So his sample size, I just felt it would be a little bit unfair and disingenuous to try and compare. Everything's going to be in the favor of one player anyway, just purely due to the volume of minutes he's been able to play. So I said, let's take a look at Salah. Now, obviously, Salah's played, I believe Salah has played a game or two less than Muani, but I just decided to just get some stats up, just to literally see how did these guys compare. What is it about Muani that is getting everybody all riled up and saying, yo, this guy might be the next one up. This might be a player that you might just want to get on your books from now, as opposed to waiting, and then he's going to cost over 100 million, and then what are you going to do, kind of thing. And Frankfurt don't seem, to me, I don't know their finances, but they don't seem like a team who are in a rush to sell him anyway. So, let's wait and see. Now, obviously, this kind of metrics that I'm using here, again, I don't expect Mo Salah to be beating, Muani at, just due to Muani is taller, is a lot more physical in terms of his style of play than Mo Salah. So again, look, aerial duels contested, and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not really too fussed by those kind of stats. So that doesn't really bother me, but, they're up there anyway for anyone who wants to see. I'm looking at, the ground duel contested and then a success rate. Mo Salah's only contested 149, whereas Muani's contested 187 with a 41.18 success rate, whereas Mo Salah is only down at 30%. So fair enough. Now, again, I actually thought that Mo Salah had played less games, but it looks like Mo Salah's actually played 2 more games. This is obviously in their respective leagues. Muani in the Bundesliga and Salah in the Premier League. Salah's played 2 more games and has got more minutes. That's fair enough, cool, whatever. When I'm looking at stuff like ball recoveries, Muani, outshines him in less games, 54 to 45. His possession lost, 280 to 286. He's got more goals from inside the box. They both got the same amount of goals from outside, the box. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, fair enough. When I'm looking at a conversion rate, though, 30% for Muani and 13%, from Mo Salah. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, blimey, like that's really bad. Again, not the sole reason, but that is one of Liverpool's problems this season, is that our strikers their conversion rates are and listen, guys already know, people watching this already, they already know Salah's my guy. I mean, it's hard for me to do these kind of videos at times, especially when we're speaking about Salah, because obviously that's my guy right there. But at the same time, we just got to be real with each other. At the end of the day, that's a shit conversion rate at 13%. That's definitely something that if I was Salah, I definitely wouldn't be proud of, And again, look, the shot accuracy from Muani is 60%. Mo Salah's 47. Again, he's played 2 more games in the league, by the way. 2 more games, and he's got more shots on target. So I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, bro, you're getting more shots on target than you are, that's by what? 6 more shots on target in 2 more games. Muani's got 12 shots off target. Mo's got 27. Mo completes more passes. So, yeah, he's getting his pass game in. I'm looking at the duels contested. Again, they are different type of strikers. I say, I keep calling Mo a striker. He ain't a striker. He's a winger who's playing out wide. But as I said, Muani can also play out wide as well. So if you're putting up these type of numbers, what's to say that you can't obviously be put out there on that right-hand side? For example, again, this is just to take a look, guys. Don't think, before we get even further with it, like, don't think I'm showing you all of this and I'm like, yeah, that's the replacement for Salah. Oh, yeah, no. This is just to take a look at different players, what they can do, what they can bring, because the reality is we need to start potentially finding other players out there who are not big name, because Muani's not a big name player. Of course he's not. He's still relatively new in this game, but there are so many players out there that Liverpool have obviously missed out on. Manchester United have obviously missed out on as well. We've seen United in their recent their deals over the last 10 years or since Fergie left. That success rate is extremely low. I don't even know if I would call any of them really a success, to be honest with you. It's quite shocking. And with Liverpool, with them, I always feel like it's like hit and miss. Some we get quite a good few hits, but the misses are really bad, like really, really bad. Minaminos, Shaqiri's, and people of that kind of ilk. Like, and I'm just like, ugh. Like, I wouldn't really, what I mean? Maybe we need to start looking. And again, the jury's still out on players like Gakpo and Nunez. Yeah, they've only come this season, but yeah, like I said, the jury's still going to be out on them. Obviously, they can get given a bit more time to kind of wait and see how they kind of develop and what it is they do here at Liverpool Football Club. But ultimately, the jury's still out. You're not really convinced by either of them. Well, me personally, let me not say everyone, because I know a lot of people who are convinced by Darwin Nunez. I'm not one of them. Like I said, the jury's still out on what he can potentially achieve here at Liverpool. I do think he possesses a certain type of skill set, but this is even compared to Darwin Nunez anyway. Now Nunez has played 3 less games, the 3-game ban that he had for headbutting against Crystal Palace. There, he would have obviously wrapped that up. So obviously he's got less games, less minutes. Muani does him for goals. Would Nunez probably have the same amount? Maybe, maybe not. We don't really know, so I won't judge him too much. by that because it's not like Muani is outshining him too far. I mean, Nunez is a 1 in 3, Muani is a 1 in 2, so they're very very close in that regards. Nunez is having 52 shots excluding blocks. Accuracy though, again it goes back to Mo Salah's accuracy, extremely low. Now Nunez is higher than a Mo Salah, but still not high enough. Still not high enough. Muani's getting 60% of his shots are on target. Did you get what I'm trying to say? Shots off target, Nunez 27. I expect it because he is just completely just wayward with his shooting. Chances created, that one was kind of interesting. Nunez has obviously created 18 chances, and Muani again 22 passes completed. Well, this is almost double of what Nunez is currently doing. Nunez is not really a passer of the ball. And when I'm looking at these kind of stats, the ones probably that I would say stick out, not the goals, because again, there's 3 games in there that potentially Nunez could get another 4 goals in potentially. So can't really get onto him too much. I don't think he would have, but the possibility is always going to be there, regardless. But I'm just looking at, for this little graph here, I'm looking at the shot accuracy, man, and that one always gets me. But then I'm also looking at the passes attempted. Muani is trying to make as many passes as possible. He's a player who does actually bring quite a lot into play, and I feel that when I'm looking at Muani and Nunez, I do actually think that they're quite similar, purely because of their frame, their build, and what it is they bring to their teams, in terms of that level of chaos. Muani's chaos, though, is a bit more refined, I would say, than a Nunez. Nunez is still quite raw. I believe they're both the same age. I think they're both the same age, so can't really say it's an age thing. I think it is just purely down to the style of the player. Nunez is, I guess it works, so to speak, for Liverpool. It'll be good. It'll be very interesting to see how he will do in a team that's fit and firing, though. Would he have that same level of impact? I don't know. Again, interesting to see, and I'm not going to say yes or no on that kind of matter. Looking at crosses attempted, both on 12, pretty good. Crossing accuracy, Nunez absolutely crap, cannot cross to save his life. Muani's, if you want to say it's better, then it's better by double, fair enough. Through balls attempted, Muani gets that. Forward passes, take-ons completed. That one kind of shocked me. I thought that Nunez would have had more, but fair enough. Muani's got 30 to Nunez's 5. I don't think Nunez would have made that gap up in 3 games, to be honest with you. So, again, is this a player that maybe we could have nurtured a lot better in this team as opposed to Nunez? Again, there's nothing we can do about Nunez. I'm not necessarily complaining of that fact, to be honest with you, because Nunez is here now. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. But again, looking just towards the future, with obviously Bobby's future up in the air, Jurgen Klopp being sentimental again and potentially looking like he wants to keep the guy when he should just, get rid of him. I'm looking at other strikers out there. I was going to say other strikers that we can afford, but I don't think we can even afford someone like Muani unless we can structure that deal or we get some investment or anything like that. But again, other strikers, they don't have to be big names. We all know about Klopp and how he likes to turn players into these supposed world-class players. Could Muani be, another one that he potentially, puts in there? As I said, look, take-ons completed, take-on success, aerial duels, 80 to 54, aerial duel success. Nunez obviously does him out there, so well done to Nunez. Ground duels contested, 187 to 53. Ground duel success, 41 to 39. And interceptions are going to be the same on 2. So this is a striker who likes to put himself about. This is a striker who definitely likes to, put himself about on the pitch wherever he's playing, to be honest with you. Wherever he's going to play, he wants to put himself about on the pitch. He wants to make sure that his presence is known, strong, quick, can get in behind, can play the ball to feet. And I think for me, again, this is where the aesthetics comes into it. That's what you want to see. That's what you like to see as well. Conversion rate, very, very good. Again, another thing I think that is very, very key. When we do watch someone like a Nunez, it's very raw. It's very just kind of, again, like I said, it's just all over the gaff. But obviously it's been utilized to some effect this season. So will that work? Again, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see what Nunez looks like in a team that's actually fit and firing, purely because right now, team's not firing at all. So he becomes a bright spark all of a sudden. He becomes the chaos. He becomes which I didn't know was a metric, but for some reason this season it is. All of these kind of things, all of these intangibles that we're starting to kind of judge a Nunez on. I'm looking at someone like a Muani and I'm saying I feel like he can do those a lot better than a Darwin Nunez. I think then it just boils down to how you then fit, into that team. You look at the positions, as I said, left, right, through the middle. This was his kind of positioning. Now, this was interesting to me as well, because I thought, again, without doing any research behind it, prior to this video, I was looking at this and thinking, oh, he just seems like a centre forward. I've seen him pop up on the wings for France and stuff, but I thought that was just purely due to the fact that, France had other players to play up front. But this is a guy who can play in multiple positions. As I said, left, right, forward, as a support striker, attacking midfield, he's played in once. Second striker, he's played in once as well. This is his stats for FC Nantes in the Ligue 1, where he made his debut. Now, obviously, majority of his games are obviously going to be, up front. But when I'm looking at that right winger role, like I said, this is for FC Nantes. When I'm looking at that right winger role, in the time that he was there, he played there 7 times, three goals and 2 assists. So a 5 goals and assists record in 7 games in that position. Left wing, played there twice, scored once. And then obviously the other 2, he didn't score or assist. Obviously, mainly up front, played 29, scored 9, and set up 5 goals. Now I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, decent, very, very decent. That shows that he can actually play on that right-hand side. Again, a position that's Liverpool are severely lacking in terms of quality. Got players who can play there, Harvey Elliott, Ben Doak. Are they quality though? Remains to be seen. I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think I do believe that Liverpool can upgrade on that area. I think they should be upgrading, on that area. And when you've got a guy, especially someone like a Muani. Now, we looked at Cody Gakpo, and obviously we're looking at Cody Gakpo and we're saying, most of us are out here saying, Cody Gakpo on the left, Nunez should be going up front, blah, 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 all these kind of things. But Klopp's playing him through the middle. Does he want to turn him into that Firmino kind of player, someone who can bring the ball to feet, drag defenders away, but is still able to, find himself in the right areas, when we need him? Can Muani do that just from the right-hand side? Can Muani replace, potentially, again, someone who's another speedster, someone who's equally as quick? I wouldn't have a problem with something like that. Again, this is just to kind of look at what his skill set might potentially be in a Liverpool side. But then equally, even for Manchester United, I think that, when we get on to, what he can actually bring in terms of what Frankfurt bring to their own league and what he could bring here, might be a good option for either team, to be honest with you. It's going to be an interesting one. This is his positioning for Frankfurt. Obviously, majority of his games. This record is bloody frightening. 14 goals and 15 assists. He's got more assists than he does goals. and he's only outdoing that by 1. That is crazy this season. This is for obviously this season. Crazy. Played 2 games as a right winger this season. I guess when you're scoring that many goals and assisting that many goals from centre forward, that's the kind of thing that you want to see. I want to see this. And to be honest with you, the fact that he's even got more assists, I almost feel like I like that more, which is weird, because he's a centre forward. So you think, well, you're centre forward. I want you to have more goals than assists. That makes more sense. But when you're playing in certain systems and certain styles, especially in the Liverpool style, the way that we want to use our strikers, especially we're trying to get Gakpo in there and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying Muani comes in, he bags straight away, he does this. It's not going to happen. Well, it's not likely to happen. He might have the same teething problems as a Gakpo, as a Nunez kind of thing. But when I'm looking at that, that shows me that this is a very, very versatile player. Now, obviously, this is just a little still from Frankfurt's game against Union Berlin earlier on in the season. And look, I'm just looking at this, and again, this is him with he came to feet for the ball. His next move is to run in behind. Again, someone who's strong, who can hold up defenders, so you don't have to worry about that. If you do need a striker who can get in behind, a bit like I'm trying to think of a good player really out there who's really good at bringing the ball to feet and kind of getting in behind. People in the comments and stuff while you're watching this, let me know. My mind's kind of gone blank. But you can see once he gets in behind, the assist then goes to Mario Götze, who obviously slots it home. Yes, I said Mario Götze, I know, right? Obviously, he then slots it home. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, right, okay, cool. So again, likes the ball to feet, is very good in getting in behind, very quick, got them long legs, so I expect it. Good technique on the ball, a very good dribbler, got decent ball control, can pick out passes. Sounds pretty decent. Now, this is obviously from Opta analyst. This is just a little like description of what they say about him. For a player with close control and running ability of Kolo Muani that can make things very simple, able to kill the ball when it arrives at his feet, the 23-year-old baits defenders in before pushing it into space and beating them on turn. Both when dribbling and when looking for a pass, Kolo Muani will attract opposition defenders before changing the direction or the speed of his attacks. Is that what we're looking for? You know, as I said, with Firmino's contract situation just kind of a little bit up in the air. I know Klopp wants to keep him and stuff like that. And I know some of you watching this are probably saying, nah, man, we've got to keep someone like Firmino, man. Great sixth choice, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And fair enough, if you want him to stay, then you want him to stay. At the end of the day, I'm not here to, to argue that, to be honest with you. Me personally, no, I want to see something different, something a bit more fresh. And something that tells me that we're moving in the right direction, something that tells me that we are trying to move forward, we're potentially moving away. Now, I personally think the team should be playing in like a 3-5-2 sort of formation. Could he be one of the two, potentially? Replacing someone maybe like a Salah up top? Is that an option? I have no idea. Again, this is just my own real personal opinion on that in regards to him. And you can see, look, even the fact that he can play on that right-hand side, most of his touches are going to be in the attacking midfield or in the box, or to be honest, the width of the 18-yard box. That's where his game is realistically played. So even if he is going to play out there on the wings, which he can do left or right, I still believe that he's going to be someone who's going to be looking for those central areas to be able to, affect play. So again, is that something that everyone is looking for? Again, by Opta analysis, this is more looking at, what he could potentially bring moving forward. Frankfurt advanced up the pitch at 1.7 meters per second this season. It's a rather average direct speed for a Bundesliga team, but it would make them the most direct team in the Premier League by some distance. Their sequence time, the average time each possession would last, is 7.53 seconds, which again puts them around the middle of the pack in the Bundesliga, but would have them at the extreme end of England's top flight. And obviously, this is just a little graph showing here, just in terms of the breakaway attacks, how quick it does take for each Premier League team to, get the ball from back to front. And you can see where Frankfurt would actually be in that kind of scenario. You can see, look, your Liverpools, Leicester's, Arsenal's, Chelsea's I'm quite surprised about. It is quite an interesting read when I'm seeing Frankfurt would be, somewhere in and around there, better than a few of the Premier League teams that are currently in there and level with some. But then you can see the teams who are obviously, breaking out there. Passes per sequence, you can see Man City are out by themselves, because the type of team they are, the amount of passes they need to get, from back to front. With Liverpool, it's just under 4. With Manchester United, it's in between 3.5 and 4. So again, would that be something that, teams are going to be looking at? Is that going to be something that, teams use to their advantage and stuff like that? Again, we don't really know. But when I am looking at Muani, looking at, some of the positions he does like to take up on the pitch, this is his season map. And obviously this is SOFA score. So again, take it with a pinch of salt. This is his SOFA score rating for the season, 7.67. This is in the Bundesliga. And he's, like I said, it's just all over the gaff. Likes to drop deep, which is what I want to see from my striker, especially the kind of new age strikers. I think it's rare that we're going to find a number 9, a Torres. There is no Torres. You're not going to find a number 9 like that who all they cared about was hitting the back of the net. You know what I mean? All you needed was Steven Gerrard in behind you. But I think if you brought back that kind of style, then maybe 4-4-1-1 type of formations, then maybe you might start seeing that a lot more often. I know teams try to play it, but you don't really see it, obviously, to that high level. He can come to feet, no problem. He can play left, he can play right. Don't really care about the left-hand side because, as I said, we've got way too many left-hand sided players anyway. Gakpo, Diaz, Jota, Nunez, they can all seemingly play on that left-hand side. It's the right-hand side, but then being able to be the focal point of the attack, I find that so key. And I think that for me, when I'm looking at stuff like that, I am thinking to myself, maybe, just maybe, again, I refer back to this, being able to play in that right winger position. I'm not saying you need to play there all the time. If your main position is going to be up front, I've got no problem with that between yourself and like a Nunez, for example, battling it out if we're only going to play one up top. But being able to play on that right-hand side and still be effective, for me, I'm good with that. I'm very, 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 very good with that. And again, I refer back to this, able to kill the ball when it arrives at his feet. We already done know that half of these players cannot do that. We seem to have, we seem to be buying players that just cannot seem to be able to do that. I don't know what it is about Liverpool, but we just can't seem to do that. Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say? He's able to bait defenders in, pushes it into space, got good dribbling, good close control. Like, is that something that potentially Liverpool might be looking for in the future? I don't know. I really, really don't know. It's, again, like I said, it's just food for thought. It is really just food for thought in terms of Muani and, what he can do potentially if he moves over to the Premier League. Now, he would have to step it up, I think. Again, he plays in a smaller team. He is the focal point. Maybe because he's fairly new in terms of the type of player he is coming to this league and stuff like that. Is it just a case of defenders don't really focus too much on him, or they're not really don't really know how to read him just yet? Again, when you've played years in the game, I always think that when players get older and you're still at such a supreme level, that's why we rate like a Steven Gerrard or, your Paul Scholes, your Frank Lampards and your Pirlos, Javis, Iniestas, and all these kind of guys. The reason why we rate them so much is Zidane's, Ronaldo's, Messi's, is because as they're getting older, you got to realize people start to figure you out anyway, regardless. Even if you're Lionel Messi, Iron Robben, prime example. Like, in fact, that's probably the best example. A player who does the same thing over and over again. Can you stop it though? Because I know for a fact teams would have set up in a way, and they would have told their left backs at that time when Iron Robben was playing with Bayern Munich, they would have told their defenders, look, he's going to get to this point on the pitch. He's going to get close to the 18-yard box anyway. Once he gets close to that, he's going to try and cut in and shoot. We need you to stop that. We need you to stop that. So how can we set up in a way that he doesn't do that? You saw the goal against Manchester United. That's the one that pops into my head straight away. Do you get what I mean? Like, when I'm seeing stuff like that and the fact that you're able to continuously keep doing it at such a level, and that's what I think with someone like Muani, I think that's something that he's going to have to kind of try and improve upon. Like I said, he's got good numbers now, got good stats now, got loads of goals, loads of assists this season. More than any of our players currently, more than Manchester United players currently. So, he's putting up the numbers at this present moment in time. But can he do it in a harder league? Can he do it in a league where defenders are not going to give you time? Can you do it in a league where you're constantly being pressed? And as we know, he's got good close ball control. He's good with the ball to feet. He can play with his back to goal, which is so vital when you're playing sometimes as the vocal point of a team, because we need you to bring everybody else into play. If you're able to do just those basics in terms of what that means in itself, then everything else I believe will obviously come to fruition. Especially being able to press and stuff like that. Now, don't know if his pressing numbers are going to be that high. I wouldn't really think so. If they are, amazing, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're not, purely because of the type of team that he's playing for. So, coming into a Liverpool team, for example, is that something that they would need for him to be able to up that? We know with Gakpo's pressing numbers, they weren't really too good. His defensive actions weren't really too good, but we still brought him in for what he can do. From what we've seen him be and be able to, for all the good things that he can actually bring. Is this another one of those players that we're bringing in, and potentially, as I said, could be a replacement for Salah if we're going to stick with a 4-3-3. But if Liverpool decide to go with the formation I was talking about, with the 3-5-2 in the future, is that someone that we could potentially have up there? Nunez, I think, could work in a 2 when he's got someone to work with, someone who might even be able to get the knockdowns for him, someone who can bring him into play. That could be the kind of player that we're looking at. Now, that's just Muani. There's other strikers out there. One that pops into my mind, obviously, as I said, is Osimhen. Very, very good striker, very physical, very fast, very strong. You know, hasn't got the best close ball control, but I feel like he's probably a bit more similar to a Nunez in that regards. But he's so clinical when he gets in and around goal, and he's so good at being able to facilitate others in his own general play. Muani can also do that general play as well. Is this something that Liverpool might potentially look at in the summer? As I said, reports are that Liverpool Manchester United are potentially looking at him, but the reported fee, I believe, is like 89 million pounds, 100 million euros. So that might not be something that Liverpool want to or can, you know, with the money that we don't really have at the moment. That might not be an area, but let's wait and see, man. Let's wait and see. But guys, that's just a quick, short, I hope, about 35, 36 minutes video on Randal Muani of Frankfurt. Again, just a little look at him to see what type of player he is. Would he fit into our type of system? If he would fit into the system, do you think maybe we could change up the system? Maybe in the future, if we do change up, does he fit into that system? Is he a player that you guys would even want to see at Liverpool? You know, let me know in the comments and stuff like that. Is this someone that people are really bothered about? You know, he's only had this. He's had last season as well. Last season, he was building up his kind of game and stuff like that. I think this season he's really taking his game to the next level. As I said, France international, able to play in the World Cup final as well. Trusted to play in that, to come on and play in that. So, of course, this is a player that must be on the up and up, especially being regarded so highly by the French national team. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. If this is the player that you'd like to see at Liverpool Football Club, make sure you smash that like button if you do like these videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more content over the coming weeks. Obviously, Liverpool got the Merseyside derby, so make sure you stay tuned for my preview for that, which will be dropping on Monday. Catch me on the Jerry James Show with my brother Roms, Ish, and Jerry. And finally, I'm G, and I'm out.